everybody, so I thought I'd share with you today our June garden tour, I guess you could say. It's about the third week in June, and it's been a crazy summer this year as far as Alaska goes, the weather goes, or at least in our area. We have had the last 3 days 70-degree weather, which is the first warm weather we have had since, I guess, since the snow melted. We had one day that was like 70 about a month ago, but it's been raining and about 50, sorry, the bugs are getting me, 55 degrees every day. And so it's been beautiful the last few days, but consequently, because of all the cold weather we've had, the garden has really not done a lot of growing. So I'm going to just show you what is growing, what's not growing, what I may have to replant, and I'll just show you. And I'll show you a little bit of my weeding, because the weeds, now they're growing, but the rest of it is not growing very well. So I'll show you what we got. Alright, so it is the middle of June and I'm out here in my garden. You notice the head net. This is like a must, I guess, for me. I don't like wearing bug spray on my face. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but there are a ton of mosquitoes and what we call no-see-ums or white socks, little flies that bite, and they like to bite like behind your ears and behind your, like down the back of your neck. You'll all of a sudden be like bleeding, and it's because of those little white socks. Anyway, so at this point in time, we're just like, sorry, there's mosquitoes on my hands. I'm just getting stuff weeded for the first time. A lot of stuff has started to sprout, and so I'm just kind of weeding general areas, not actually like specific plants. So here in about a week or two, I'll start weeding things like the carrots that need to have the weeds pulled out around them, but I want to give them a little bit of time to get set, the little roots to get set. But I'll show you kind of what's growing and how I'm weeding. For this weeding, I'm basically just like, I find my row, and there's a row, there's some right there, so it's about that far apart. And I basically just like ruffle the soil up and then kind of spread it out, and that brings all the little weeds and their roots to the top. And then I pull them out and throw them down. Pull them out and throw them down into my path, hoping to smash them and that they don't grow. And I don't get them all, but I get a lot of them. On the sides, I do kind of the same thing. Find my row and kind of come down just below it. Anyway, pull out all the little plant green matter that I see, and throw that in the path and move on. And here's a row. I did the peas. You can see it works pretty good. My beans haven't started sprouting yet. I don't know what the deal with those are. Might have to replant those, but I did some of the broccoli and cabbage, but anyway. Okay, first off, the rhubarb is the one thing in my garden that is just taken off growing. I put the big leaves when I harvest rhubarb down here around it to keep the weeds down, but this is just, I have harvested so much rhubarb already, making all sorts of things. Rhubarb crisp, rhubarb pudding, we tried this year, that's not very good, so, and rhubarb sauce and different rhubarb things, and it's huge. There's 2 plants here, but they're doing well. Alright, so next is the potatoes, and they just in the last 2 days have started coming up. All of the potatoes have started coming up. I think they kind of just sat there while it was so cold and rainy and wet, and they obviously got enough water, but now they're finally coming up. They love the warmth, I guess. So the potatoes, and obviously you can see the weeds. I have not had a chance to weed the potatoes. I don't weed them very well anyway. And then I'll show you the other side of the fence, and then we'll go inside the fenced area. Okay, so you can see there's lots of weeds growing. My ground is green, and I've already done this row. So this is the carrots. And these areas that I haven't weeded are the areas where the carrots are actually growing, but they are so tiny. Here's one of the carrots, and you know, there's a lot of weeds around them, but I don't want to pull all these weeds out yet. Probably give them another week to get about this tall, because then they're a little bit more stable and I'm not disturbing them so much. So this is what I'm doing, is just kind of going down each side. I'm throwing the weeds into my aisles and just smashing them down, and then just ruffling up the soil and then pulling out any weeds and then throwing them into the center, and then they're weeded. All right, so the onions are growing great. Dog loves to chase the birds. They have taken off. They're loving the warmth. They didn't really mind the cold either. They just grew. They've been doing great. So I'm impressed. Even that row that I didn't really think was a row, but I planted it anyway, and it's doing great. And I got most of that, at least the tops weeded. I got to go through and do the rows, the walking paths. And then down there at the end was I think it was parsnips, and they are taking off. They've loved the rain for whatever reason. I don't know. Anyway, they're doing really well. Okay, we'll go inside the fenced area and I'll show you that stuff. Okay, she hasn't been in here. She's like, ooh, I'm so excited to see what's going on. Anyway, so here the peas are growing super great. Again, I weeded these when they were smaller, and so I do need to go around and kind of clean up the rest of the weeds. My beans, however, I have one now. Okay, they're finally coming up. For a while there, I was like, I'm not going to have any beans. But now they're finally starting to come up. Probably the warm weather, here's another one, has finally got them going a little bit. The broccoli looks great. And cabbage looks great. The cabbage and cauliflower kind of were stunted there for a while, but they're looking good. This is the first round of lettuces. This is just kind of a lettuce mix. And remember, I planted, or maybe that's in this video, I planted a second round that'll be ready. The dog just smashed them up. That will be ready here, a couple weeks later. This one is another kind of lettuce, I can't remember, with a second planting. Mustard greens, actually, I remember. This one is spinach with a second planting as well. And then this is radishes. These are already grown pretty good with the second planting as well. And then lastly, I have my zucchinis and squashes, and they're actually starting to get buds, but holy moly, they look like they were dead. I was about ready to go replace them, and I still worry about them and think about maybe replacing them. These ones are starting again to get some green leaves. But yeah, they were pretty sad. One of them actually did die. That one looks like, well, it's got some green on it now. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Anyway, that would be what I would replace, is some of my zucchini. But I'd have to do it in the next week or so if I do. Anyway, that's my garden tour, and that's what we got going on. Hopefully by next month I'll be able to share some harvesting of peas and lettuces and whatnot, broccoli. Anyway. All right, one last thing before I'm done. So I do have my raspberries as well. They're doing pretty good. They're up against this black wall and they get a lot of heat, so they kind of like it. But anyway, they're doing really well. So I'm hoping for a lot of raspberries as well this year. But anyway, I thought I'd share that with you really quick.